Once you have the Wilson cartridge case trimmer assembled, we now want to set it up to trim our very first case. And to do so, we must first loosen this little screw at the top. That takes the tension off the stop screw that we have to wind out and then bring back in gently as we measure up our case to the face of the cutter. So to do this, I take my Chapman correct size bit, fit it, that's fine, attach it in, and about 3 or 4 little screws of this just removes the tension of the stop screw. Take the next correct size piece, which is the blade that will actually unwind this screw, so it will wind the stop screw back out. So we can show you here. Once we get the momentum flowed out, we should be able to just gently loosen it by finger pressure, by turning it in the anti-clockwise direction. And you can see that it's coming out here further back. This opens the access for the case holder to sit in place with the cartridge inside it. I find that the Wilson case trimmer, it's very well designed, it's a nice finish, and it's really solid, and it's got a good nice little bit of weight on it, so there's no lot of movement around the desk, especially when the base is held onto killer. This is a real solid form factor. So when we take this back just a little bit further, so we have enough clearance for cartridge case holder and case. And now we can take the cartridge case holder. You'll find this is my one for the 6.5 by 55 caliber, and you will notice there's a edge burred out along the rear of the cartridge case holder, and that is where the case will slide in from. So I take my case, and the case will slide in and be held in place in here. You'll notice if I take this out, the other end, it doesn't go in. So there only is one way it's going to work. So the case slides in here, and you'll notice this little block, acrylic block here. You're wondering, what is this purpose? The purpose of this is that to hold the case firmly in the cartridge case holder, you'll take the head of the case and give it a little solid wrap on top of the acrylic block, so you don't damage the cartridge case. And if you hit it squarely on, it drives it a little bit more tension inside the cartridge case holder. And then it can be placed upon the rails of your Wilson trimmer. Just guide the cutter back a little bit, and you can then move the shark fin case holder into place, and that will hold the case trimmer and the case from rotating when I'm cutting the surface of the neck of the case. So let's first guide the cutting edge in so it's flush. You'll notice there's some daylight between the case neck and the cutting blade. Therefore we must take some tension back onto this and push this in gently so it just touches onto the case cutters, and we want to take just a little shim off this case neck, so the case mouth, so that we have it flush and square. So we can do this gently by hand, and I'm just looking for daylight and any movement in the trimmer. So I believe now that is as much as I want to trim off this case. So I just take the cutter back, slide the shark fin over to hold the case trimmer in place, and this little bearing screw must now be securely snugged down to hold my stop screw into position. 3 or 4 turns, and it just snugs it down, just to stop any movement of the case head or the cutter. And now I bring my cutting blade back into contact with the case neck, and I begin to rotate in a clockwise direction. And you'll notice some little shavings come off. You just keep rotating until you find that the tension of cutting the case has been removed and the cutter flows more freely. And here now I can feel that the momentum of the case won't cut anymore, so I can stop. Just gently slide the cutter back just a little bit. Take my shark fin, turn it round in a clockwise direction, and lift out my case. And you'll notice the shavings from the brass are on the cutter and on the surface of the trimmer. And now you're wondering, I can't remove my case by hand. This is what the acrylic block is for at this end. A gentle tap squarely, so you don't damage the mouth of your case, onto the acrylic block. It will remove the case. Therefore, loosened it up. And you can then put your case off to one side and take your next case, slot it in through the end of the trimmer, a little wrap, put it in place onto the rails, slide over your shark fin, slide in your blade, and begin cutting your next case mouth and squaring it off. You may ask, how did I determine the size of my case? Firstly, with the case, I had previously measured every case with my digital calipers that I had in stock, and took the measurement of the smallest case, and noted the measurement of the smallest case, and then that was the case. That was the very first case that I used to set into the trimmer to cut off some of the mouth. So now every case that comes after, if it's always going to be larger than the first case I done, they will be cut to the exact same size. And I also noted that the size of my smallest case was actually didn't exceed the maximum overall length size that was stated in my reloading manual for the 6.5 by 55 caliber. So you must always ensure you're either cutting it back to the maximum length or below the maximum length. And sometimes other companies will recommend, like Wilson will recommend that you cut it to 1/10 of an inch back further than the maximum length. And that is how you set up your Wilson case trimmer to trim all your cases to the one size and have them as uniformed as possible, ready for neck deburring, chamfering, and then reloading and bullet seating. Once you're finished with all your cutting process, you will notice that you have a lot of brass on your reel and on your cutter and around the area. This is why I employed the paintbrush. This will help me just gently brush off any brass filings off the cutting blade, because it's always vital to ensure that your tools are kept clean and free from any debris, so it doesn't cause any obstructions the next time you want to use it to trim. So now we have a clean blade, and on the cutting surface just take the brush and gently brush the filings off, making sure that you get underneath the bearing surface. And then clean free your base and your work area. If, however, you've got a lot of cases trimmed, there's a lot of brass will eventually build up around here, but it's easily rectified. So you can remove the base screw underneath and just gently lift off your cutting bearing, and then just brush away any of the filings that do get trapped under here, because filings will inevitably get trapped under the small little gaps that you can see at each end of the circular cutter bearing. So let's assemble it back together, and I do hope that if you purchase the Wilson case trimmer, you will enjoy it and you will see the results in your shooting.